From exploring beautiful locations in the city, to the seafronts, to being extorted for money and eventually being in a taxi scam. A lot happened on this one day in Port Elizabeth, and in this video I'm going to share my experience with you so that you are better prepared when you're there. Let's go. Port Elizabeth, or just PE if you want to sound South African, is the country's 5th largest city. Best known for its attractive beaches, Port Elizabeth is located within the country's Eastern Cape province. I got in here by a ship, and having already explored the central part of the city, which is quite close to the harbour, today I wanted to visit the Broadwalk and the adjoining seafront. The taxi I hailed gave me quite a scary experience, but first, the Broadwalk. The drop-off point is right in front of the entrance, and it's something that you can see right from the street. So if you want to change money, there's a bank and a few ATMs right at the entrance. It's a universal fact not to change money on the streets, and of course this applies here as well. Broadwalk is an entertainment complex which houses a hotel, a casino, an amphitheater, a conference center, a sports arena, and a selection of international restaurants, specialty shops, a craft workshop, as well as a star cinema with 5 screens. All of this is definitely enough to keep you engaged and entertained for hours on end. The complex is set around a series of man-made lakes and beautiful gardens. During the night, the lake also features a dancing fountain with light and sound show, and the entire area is beautifully lit up. Next stop was going to be the seafront. It's directly opposite to the Broadwalk, and if you're coming here to enjoy the beaches, one of the most popular is the King's Beach. It's funny because I could still see the cargo cranes, and usually that makes me think that I'm still at work. The beach features shallow areas for swimming and snorkeling. While the beautiful sandy beaches typically have quite a few people laying out during the day, the locals recommend taking extra care when swimming in the King's Beach, as it features an extremely strong current. While exploring this area, I realized that the city truly lives up to its Windy City name. The famous Bay World and also the Donkin Reserve, they are just a short travel distance away from here. So time permitting, you can also check them out. I met some locals here who were walking their dogs. Since I'm fond of dogs, so it was an instant connection. During our conversation, upon finding out that I was a non-local exploring Port Elizabeth all by myself, one of the locals also called me brave. And later, when I wanted to go back to the harbour using the taxi, I found out exactly why. Okay, so let me give you a background. Well, within the port limits, only special taxis are allowed to come inside and pick you up from the ship. And of course, because they are special taxis, so they are much more expensive. Now, being a budget traveler and to save this cost, what I did was I stepped outside the port limits, and because I did not have any cellular network or internet connection, I just hailed a cab which was just riding on the street. The seemingly friendly taxi driver quoted 100 rands for the round trip. That's approximately $6. And this was in line with what I had previously found out from some of my colleagues for the approximate charges. So I agreed, and then he reached me to the Broadwalk. When we reached the Broadwalk, I wanted to pay him the 50 rands, for the half trip, to which he said that he trusts me and he would like the money to be paid only during the return journey. I said, okay, that's fine by me. And then I stepped out. Oh, and before stepping out, we had already agreed for a pickup spot and a pickup time. Now, when I was done with exploring and I was there at the pickup spot on time, he was already there waiting for me, well in time. I went into the car, and then he said, right when he was about to start the car, he said, my friend, can you pay me the money now? And I said, sure, here you go, here's your 100. And now came the twist. He said, no, I want the full money. And I said, this is the full money. We agreed for 100 rands for a round trip. And he said, 100 was to bring you here. To go back, it's for 1,000. At this moment, I knew that it was the beginning of a scam. But anyway, to give you a perspective, 100 rands is $6 and 1,000 rands is $60. So he almost, I didn't have that kind of money in my pocket at that moment. Anyway, so I told him that, see, 100, as per you, 100 was to bring me here and 1,000 to go back, right? I've given you 100, so that's it. We are finished. I don't want to take your cab for going back. And while I'm saying all this, I'm trying to open the door, but the door is centrally locked. I think he must have done that. I didn't realize it. And now I cannot step outside the car. And right when I'm realizing all this, that, I cannot open the door, I can see that he's getting visibly more and more aggressive. He's, slamming the steering wheel. He's punching his dashboard. He's becoming more physically aggressive in terms of his body language. He's raising his voice. And I'm just sitting there, shocked that how did I end up in this situation? Actually, not just shocked, but shocked and scared, because I'm just sitting there, I cannot do anything. I cannot open the door. I cannot roll down the window. Oh, by the way, the window had a handle. It was this manual style, and there was no handle. There was just a pin protruding out. So, I could not even roll down the window if I wanted to. I just sat there. I didn't know what to do. This guy just kept demanding money, was very loud, and it was an empty parking lot. There was no other car. But luckily, when all this was happening, there was another car which rolled up, and he could have parked anywhere in this empty parking lot. But he chose to park in the slot which was just one slot away from where this car was. As this other guy was stopping his car, I frantically started to wave at him and, knocking on the window and, just making some gesture so that he understands that he should come over. And he saw me, and I think he didn't get the message. So what he did was he just waved back at me and smiled. And I was like, oh my God, he didn't get it. And then I just kept doing that more. And then I could see that, this guy was waving with a smile, and suddenly that smile vanished. And then he was like, and then I realized that, okay, I think he got it. And I think the driver also realized at the same moment that guy could understand what I was doing. So he immediately tried to start the car and, take it in reverse. But that guy was also really quick. He jumped out of his car, came quickly, and then, I could see that he was immediately taking a photograph of the number plate, the license number plate of this car. When the driver saw that happening, he stopped. He turned off the engine. And then this other guy, he came towards the driver, asked him to roll down the window, and then he asked me, my friend, is everything okay? What happened? I was slightly relieved, of course, and I told him what was going on. And while I was talking, the driver kept interrupting, saying, it's a lie, he lie. But, the other guy, he was, he heard what I said, 15 seconds. And then he, took out his phone again and he made that gesture, looking at the driver that, my friend, I don't know what he called, my friend or something. And then he said, do you want me to call the police? And then this driver, who was now, not so aggressive anymore, his voice was all calm, and He was not banging anything anymore. He was just like, like he just put his head down and he said, "No, don't call the police." So, and after that I told him, can you unlock the door please? And he did, and I immediately stepped out and I was like, whoa, wow, what a relief. After stepping out, we were having a chat, me and this other guy, and at the same time this guy, the driver, he immediately vanished, like in a blink. And during the chat, this guy said that he has some work, but if I can wait for maybe 15 minutes, he can finish his work, and he offered to reach me to the port himself. I agreed in a blink, I was like, yeah, sure, take your time, do your work, but I will go back to the port with you. And then he did reach me to the port, and really, if it was not for this guy, I don't know what would have happened. Of course, maybe, some more money would have been extorted, and I don't know, you can never know what was going to happen next. But thanks to this guy, luckily, it was all a big coincidence and luck. And this guy really saved me, I think. I think it's safe to say, yeah, he really saved me that time. And what shocked me was that this was this was a real taxi driver. It was a real taxi, it had this taxi, it was a real taxi driver, but he still tried to be this aggressive and he tried to pull this stunt. Maybe because he knew that, I'm not a local, maybe I don't have a phone, I don't know how, or maybe it's just a general scam, but anyway, he did try that on me, and thanks to this guy, it didn't work out. Anyway, so when you are in PE, Port Elizabeth, what should you do? First, never ever take a cab from the street. You either take a Uber, or if in my situation like I couldn't take a Uber. In that case, you just count on your hotel or hostel, or ask one of them to call you a cab. Never take a cab from the street like how I did. When it comes to safety, I think it's better to pay maybe $10 more, but be safe rather than end up in a situation like how I did. Okay, question. Have you ever been involved in any kind of taxi scam like how I just explained? Let me know in your comments. Please like and share this video so that it can reach more people and they can be more aware about this kind of scams. And of course, please do subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. As always, thanks for watching. Keep exploring. This is Rahul, and I'm going to see you in the next one.